Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the timing belt on this 2002 Volvo V70 with the 2.4 liter non-turbo engine. And the items you'll need for this is a new timing belt kit from 1AAuto.com, 10, 12, 14, 19, and 30 millimeter sockets and a ratchet with an extension, T30 Torx bit, 6 millimeter Allen wrench, flat blade screwdriver, wire cutters, locking pliers, jack and jack stands, and a torque wrench. You want to start off by removing these two T30 Torx bolts. We'll just fast forward as Don does that. Now flip up the clip on this side, and then the clip over here on this side, and pull that shield off. Use your wire cutters to clip the wire tie. And then using a flat blade screwdriver, pry up your power steering bottle, and pull the hose out of that clip, and set the bottle aside. Your serpentine belt tensioner is right here, using a 14 millimeter socket and ratchet. Just push towards the front of the car, and this will release the tension on that belt, and you can pull it off. And carefully release the tensioner and pull the belt off the rest of the way. Next, you want to remove this 10 millimeter bolt right in here. Now pull this cover up and out. Now using a 19 millimeter socket and ratchet, you want to loosen up your lug nuts, and if you don't have air-powered tools, you want to loosen them while they're on the ground. Raise the vehicle, remove them the rest of the way, and pull your wheel off. Next, remove these two 10 millimeter bolts inside the inner fender, and then remove this panel. Now pull this panel back, and using a pair of locking pliers, just clamp it right here. And now you want to remove these two 10 millimeter bolts right here. And we use a 10 millimeter wrench for this. Once those are removed, you can pull this panel down and out.
All right, the next step in this repair is going to be to set our timing marks. Now there are marks on each one of these cams, the intake and the exhaust cam, as well as the crankshaft down there. And you can see the crank pulley. Okay, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to put our cam cover back on, and you see it's got two notches here. Install it fully. Back into the clips on each side. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go down with a 30 millimeter socket and ratchet on the crank pulley down there. You see the nut. We're going to go through the wheel well where we just took the wheel off. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn it until the marks that are very subtle here on the cam, there and over here, line up with the corresponding notches in this cover. So that's important, but it's also important that the crankshaft notch, it has a notch in the teeth, lines up with a tooth. The tooth lines up with a post on the side of the engine block. And if you come from over here, you can just about make it out. We'll get an up-close shot for you as we turn it. So I'm going to go ahead now with my 30 millimeter ratchet and socket and turn it until I get those marks to line up. But before I do that, I'm going to use just a marker, a red marker, and make those a little bit more visible. All right, so here's the setup I'm using. I'm going to go in on the crank pulley. I'm going to turn clockwise, slowly. And you can see those marks starting to come up. And getting there. Now what we're going to do is focus our attention down on the crank. It's really tough to see the mark. I'm going to try and point it out.
On two of the teeth on your crank, you'll see these two notches that we have circled right here. And you want to locate those and then line them up so that this post that comes down is directly in between those two notches. And when you're done, it should look something like this.
All right, so the next stage of the repair is to take the belt off. And in order to do that, we have to loosen up on the tensioner. There's 3 different points of tension that we're going to set it to when we go to put the new tensioner in. And we're going to use a 6mm Allen key on this elliptical here. And this is very crucial that we get this right. And this is temperature sensitive. So our vehicle's been running for a while now. It's in the hot. If it was cold, you'd want to set your tensioner here, right here. And we'll go through this later as we do this. This is warm and this is hot. Okay, this is the way that we're going to set it when we go to put the new one in. But I'm just showing you now because we have to slacken off the one that we have in the car. And you'll see here that ours is indeed in the hot position, furthest to the right tab there. Okay, so if we do this repair in a reasonable amount of time, it's probably still going to be hot, and that's where we're going to go ahead and set our new tensioner. But right now, we're going to loosen up on the 10mm that goes through the tensioner, and then we're going to use our Allen key to slacken it off.
And you only want to loosen this bolt a couple turns. Now using a 6mm Allen, just loosen that up by turning it all the way to the front of the vehicle. And now you can just remove this cover again and pull your timing belt off. Once you got the majority of the belt off, you can remove your tensioner. Just remove that bolt the rest of the way and pull the tensioner up and out. Now pull the timing belt down through the wheel well. And using your wire cutters, just clip the belt and pull it out the rest of the way. Next, you want to remove this pulley, and it's held in with two 12mm bolts. And we'll fast forward as Don removes those. Now just pull that pulley up and out. On the left is the old timing belt, tensioner, and idler pulley. On the right is the new ones from our timing belt kit. And you can see they're identical and they're going to fit exactly the same. Replace the idler pulley and tighten up those two 12mm bolts.
So we're going to go back in with the tensioner, the new one here, and it's important to seat it correctly. You can see this tab and this tab. These are going to go on either side of this casting right here.
Put the tensioner back into place and tighten that bolt. And really you're just tightening it preliminarily. You don't want it too tight so it can still move. Now feed your timing belt back up and around the crank pulley.
So we got the belt on the crank pulley, and what we're going to do is we're going to wedge a screwdriver in between the belt and a post that comes out on the block so that the belt doesn't move, skip. Okay, and this is just for purposes of installing the belt. You got to find the spot. Okay, so now it's up in there, so now the belt won't skip on the teeth while we set it up on the pulleys up above.
Now put the belt around the rest of the pulleys. Now replace the cover so that you have the notches as a reference point. And you want to make sure that this line lines up with the notches as it did before.
So now we're going to go ahead and tighten or tension up the belt tensioner and lock it up into place. We're using that 6mm Allen and the 12. Go ahead and put it in there in the slot. And the engine at this point now is warm. It was hot before, so we're going to tension it to warm, which is right there in the middle. And once you got it where you need it, go down with your 12 and tighten up on that stud or the bolt.
Just a quick reminder, here's the cold setting. Then there's cold, warm, and hot.
Remove the screwdriver.
All right, at this point now, we're going to use our crank turning setup here with the 30mm breaker bar. And what we're going to do is give it one full revolution, check our cam marks, crank mark, and our tensioner.
Once you've checked it and made sure that all the marks line up, you can replace this panel. And then replace those two 10mm bolts that hold it into place. Now push this panel back down and replace that other panel and those two 10mm bolts. Fast forward as Dawn replaces the wheel and those 19mm lug nuts. And you want to tighten them preliminarily, lower the vehicle and tighten them the rest of the way, and then torque each of these lug nuts in a crossing pattern to 100 foot-pounds. Now replace this cover, and you just want these two tabs to go down into these two slots. So lower the cover down into place, and it helps if you push this cover back. Now put the top cover back into place. And then replace that 10mm bolt on the side here. Now when you go to put your serpentine belt on, this is your belt diagram. You want it to follow this order as you put it back on the pulleys. And we'll fast forward as Don does this. And again, if it doesn't seem like it's going on right, just refer to that belt diagram. Now line up these tabs and push your power steering bottle back down into place. And push the hose back into place and reclamp it. And then replace those two T30 bolts. And you're all set.
We hope this video helps you out. Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free, 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.